What's up, my comic comrades? Today we continue covering Venom War with issue 3 of the series. Last we left off, we saw Dylan merge with Flexo and Sleeper becoming the Prince in Black, ready to go after his father Eddie. And Carnage revealed his true form with Meridius, ready to make a deal and work with him. But if you want the big picture, watch our previous video on Venom War, which you can find right here. With that said, on with the show. Issue 3 starts off at Alchemax HQ, aka Ground Zero for the Zombiote Plague. We see both Meridius, who's a fallen future version of Eddie, and Carnage, who is essentially a symbiote Satan, look out the window of Meridius' office, watching the chaos the Zombiotes are causing, as Carnage says, "All this for little old me, Eddie? You really shouldn't have." But he just replies, "My name is Meridius, Carnage. Eddie Brock is someone else. My pathetic past. Or maybe I'm his ideal future. Either way, all he is right now is a bag of flesh tiring himself out in a pointless war. Once that battle is done, that's when I swoop in. Once I have Venom back, that's when things will kick into high gear. Not that plans haven't already accelerated now. Eh, Carlton? Good boy," as he pets Carlton like a dog, having previously infected him in the last issue. We then see the Zombiote strain continue to spread like a zombie outbreak, as we see none other than Stan Lee get infected, becoming Venom. Okay, it's not really Stan Lee, it's Willie Lumpkin, a character Stan Lee played in the live-action 2005 Fantastic Four film, marking the only time Stan Lee played an actual comic book character from the comics in live action. So in my mind, this is Stan Lee, and he just got a symbiote. Anyway, once Willie Lumpkin gets bit, we get narration from Meridius saying, with a bite propagating within each new host, living or dead, corpses become crawlers, shambling mindless remnants. But living victims are even more dangerous. They retain all their original speed, all their strength, and any special powers. And these swingers can draw on the symbiote's innate abilities too. And so the contagion spreads, generating new symbiote matter under my control. Meridius basically goes on to tell Carnage that soon enough, I'm gonna have enough to rebuild the garden you destroyed in the future. But thanks to Venom, it's gonna be bigger and better than before. A Venom world, and this future will be only mine, not my idiot son's. He then continues to rub this in Carnage's face, basically saying, "Everything you did to Venom and Eddie is only helping my plan. But no hard feelings, I'd hate for us to have a falling out." Carnage says, "I know a winner when I see one, Eddie, and I'm happy to watch you work. But have you really thought of everything? All blood, the Necro Spear, and you of all people know how powerful this weapon can be." Meridius says, "Yet despite all that power, I'm still standing with my army of Zombiotes." At this point, Carnage is basically like, "Just relax, alright? Calm down. We're just talking." A nice and friendly chat between equals. And as equals, I just want to let you know, no matter how much you think you rigged this game, there's always going to be a wild card. As we see elsewhere, Flash Thompson, aka Agent Venom, saving a woman in an alley being attacked by Willie Lumpkin, who we saw get infected earlier. He uses his anti-venom to cure Willie Lumpkin, who is more than happy to be normal again, and the lady asks, "Are you curing everybody?" Agent Venom replies, "Just targets of opportunity right now. I'm a squirt gun up against a forest fire. But if I can get to Grand Garden Arena and talk some sense into Eddie Brock, maybe he can stop all this before this gets any crazier." The comic then finally brings us back to the confrontation between Dylan and Eddie Brock from issue 2. Dylan, who's going by the Prince in Black now that he's merged with Flexo and Sleeper, says, "Stand down, Dad," but Eddie, who is merged with Bedlam, says, "Or what? You'll turn your hybrid symbiote on me? Shoot me with your big gun?" But Bedlam isn't much for talking and immediately starts to attack Dylan. However, Eddie won't allow this and jumps out of Bedlam saying, "My son said to stand down. That means down. I'm in charge, remember? And whatever else I am, I'm not you. Because I will never raise a hand to my own child. What do you say, Dylan? Let's put the symbiotes away, son. Let's just talk. Let's end this." But at this point, Dr. Doom comes flying in saying, "Flexo, this is the voice of Doom commanding you to remember." Flexo is like, "Remember what?" Doom says, "Eddie Brock, the so-called King in Black. When the time is right, you will be the hand of my vengeance against him, and his own son will be your weapon." As Flexo, who is still currently merged with Dylan, raises his gun at Eddie and shoots him right in the torso as chunks of Eddie go everywhere. We then see on the next page, Eddie is in bad shape. His intestines are literally falling out of his stomach, a chunk of his elbow is missing, and to make things even worse, his healing factor is not working. We then get a flashback of Doom previously turning Flexo into a sleeper agent to get revenge on Eddie through Dylan. Doom literally implants his thoughts into Flexo to attack Eddie when he's no longer reinforced by a symbiote. Flexo, having been brainwashed by Doom, tries to go in for the kill shot, but Dylan is fighting it, saying, "I won't let this happen. Sleeper, you're part of this too. Do something." Sleeper's head starts popping out saying, "Flexo is so much older and so much stronger." At which point Flexo smashes Sleeper, but remember, Dylan's friends Toxin and Red Goblin are there, so Toxin jumps in to help out, telling Red Goblin to stay back, that he's got this. But he quickly realizes he doesn't got this, as he gets completely leveled by Sleeper. But Spidey, who was also there, web blasts Flexo before he could continue to hurt Toxin. At this point, Bedlam, who's all about fighting and rage, grabs Spidey by the head, saying no distractions, let them fight. It makes us stronger. But things get even crazier, because then Kang the Conqueror shows up, talking to Red Goblin, aka Normie Osborn, saying history does not remember you fondly, Normie, and I am history, I am Kang. If you are hearing this, it means the program I encoded into the Rascal symbiote has activated. Your symbiote was built by me, derived from Bedlam, and programmed with the techniques I learned from Meridius, then I simply planted it in the 21st century for Dylan Brock to find. Sounds complicated? Welcome to my world and my war. You haven't seen anything yet, and neither has Doom. I know he's going to infiltrate your symbiote hive somehow, but his revenge doesn't align with my conquest. So when he makes a move, disrupt him. Take his pawn off the board with extreme prejudice. Essentially what's going on is somewhere else Doom and Kang are going at it, both having their own motives and are using Red Goblin and Flexo as their pawns for their proxy war. So it's in Kang's best interest to stop Flexo by having Red Goblin rip Dylan out of him, so that's exactly what Red Goblin does. And with Dylan safely out of Flexo, Red Goblin web slings Flexo out of the building and into the city. Meanwhile, Bedlam is throwing Spider-Man around like Hulk did to Loki in the first Avengers film. He eventually starts to choke out Spider-Man, so Spider-Man tells the announcers at the arena to turn on some classic music and make it loud, because as we know, a symbiote's weakness is sound waves. At least an old symbiote like Bedlam, who hasn't built up a tolerance yet, like Venom. So now Spider-Man has the upper hand, but Venom starts talking to him, saying, Peter, look, Eddie needs me. Peter says, that looks bad, all right. We gotta get him into a symbiote fast. Venom says, Toxin has a host to heal. Sleeper needs to heal himself. Eddie needs me, and he's not the only one. As we see Dylan cry over his father, who was slowly dying, saying, Dad, don't do this. Don't leave me alone again. Venom continues to tell Peter, I thought if I stayed away, it would keep them safe. Eddie, Dylan, even you. I thought I was poison to all. I even made it my name. But look at him, Peter. He is only a child burdened by the fate of all time. He needs me. He needs me in a way you never did. Bedlam then gets up behind Spider-Man, saying, time's up, Spider-Man, with Spidey saying, yeah, time to choose. As he lets Venom go to Dylan and Eddie. As Venom makes his way to them, he says, Eddie and Dylan went to war because if either of them became my host, a terrible future would follow. Peter thought the solution was that neither should wear me, but there's a better answer. As I make contact linking with their minds, I begin to think in stereo. And then for the first time, we are Venom. As we see Venom merged with Dylan and Eddie, giving us two Venoms simultaneously for the very first time. All their minds linked, separate but one. And I gotta say, Dylan's Venom looks pretty damn awesome. This is a very cool idea. Both Eddie and his son are Venom together. I need to know what happens next issue. It's not fair, we gotta wait to find out. But before we wrap this up, I do want to jump over to the Venom War Spider-Man issue 3 comic. Because in that issue, we see more of Spider-Man's perspective as he's fighting Bedlam, while Dylan cries over his dying dad. In the issue, while Bedlam is throwing Spider-Man around like a rag doll, someone starts talking to Spidey, and that someone is the Eventuality, who finally reveals its true form, because up until now, it was just this hand, a hand of God, if you will, but now we see its true form, or at least one of its forms, is a gigantic spider squid looking thing, and it's the stuff of nightmares. Also, if you don't remember, the Eventuality is basically Eddie's final form. Because of this, it watches over all of his past selves. The Eventuality then tells Peter, come here, little spider, hold fast to the power of Clintar. Unlock yourself from the veil of time. Behold the world to come. Rip away your human skin and see the King in Black beneath. And at that moment, we see Peter will become the King in Black, or at least there's a world where he becomes the King in Black. And I gotta say, I did not expect this one. The comic even tells us, from world to world, my web stretches through the void. I give form to infinity and sit at the center of the stars. I am the king of all that remains in this empty webbed universe, and I've come a long way from Queens. Essentially, we get to see what it would be like for Peter to turn evil and become the King in Black, and it's pretty great. And let me tell you, he wrecks shop, going up against Earth's mightiest heroes all by himself. Eventually, Spider-Man is put back in his body, so to speak, and Venom says, you were lost in time, but time is a liar. Listen to the voice of the now. It is as you told me, nothing is eventual. Basically saying that it is a possibility for you to become the King in Black and turn evil and do all those horrible things, but time is a liar and you could change the future. I think this is a really cool ad and had to talk about it since this technically took place during the Venom issue 3 story. It was just Spider-Man's perspective. But there you have it, friends. What do you guys think of Venom and Dylan being bonded to the symbiote at the same time? And what do you think of Peter potentially becoming the King in Black? Let us know all of that down in the comments. And other than that, we will see you next time when we talk about all things comics.